I'm Nate Kleinman. I'm the co-director of the Experimental Farm Network, which is a small nonprofit research organization and seed company based in Philadelphia. I farm here in South Jersey, and my colleague Dusty farms in Minnesota, and that is where he and his brother and future sister-in-law, Kiera and Colty, do manage our seed shipping and packaging operation, and so they're here as well, listening. We're very excited to hear from both of these speakers ourselves, and yeah, I'm particularly interested in what Reiley's going to tell us about some software solutions. So without further ado, I will pass this on to our speakers to introduce themselves. Dan and Reiley, thank you so much. Really happy to be here with you today.
Hi, everyone. So nice to see you all here. So my name is Reiley Nye, and I am here representing Snake River Seed Cooperative. I'm really excited to share some specific details with you all about how we operate. I just became a co-owner of the business along with 4 employees and 10 growers about 1 month ago. Prior to that, Snake River Seeds was an LLC owned by seed farmer and educator Casey O'Leary. We've always dreamed of becoming a true cooperative, which is why we chose to empower growers from the beginning to collaboratively set crop prices with us and introduce new varieties into the co-op. Next slide, please. We currently steward 377 different varieties, including vegetables, flowers, herbs, grains, and native plants. We try to keep 2 years worth of seed in our inventory and assign crops to growers with that goal in mind. We perform germination tests annually in August and September, and we weigh our inventory at the same time so we can track our sales information by seed weight. We sell seeds on our online store using Shopify, as well as in physical locations around our region. Next slide, please. Our mission is to grow a bioregional seed shed for the Intermountain West by adapting seeds to our climate and growing conditions. To achieve this, we only source seeds from farmers and gardeners within the Intermountain West, as you can see on this map. We have seed in our inventory currently from 54 different growers, and we have crops assigned to 46 growers for this upcoming season. Our growers vary in size from backyard gardener with 1 native flower crop to multi-acre farms with organic certification. We do not require organic certification for various reasons, but we do require all growers sign a pledge stating they will not use synthetic chemicals on their seeds. If you are interested in starting a small seed company where you recruit farmers who are beginners with seed saving, one recommendation I have is to only assign 2 to 4 crops to new growers in their first year. We had to learn this lesson the hard way, as new growers would be very excited at the start of the season, so they would sign up for a large quantity of crops, and they'd become burnt out by the end of the season when it was actually time to clean their crops. Next slide, please. As the business has grown from 2 employees to 5 or 6 employees in the last 7 years, it has been really challenging for us to separate our job duties. Defining our roles is an ongoing process that changes every year as we dial things in better and better. Our jobs often intersect, so during our weekly all-staff collective meeting, we have a section of the meeting called Messy Intersections, where we discuss situations where my role is in a messy intersection with a coworker's role. As you can see from this slide, the job roles we have within the business are finance manager, operations manager, bookkeeper, community outreach coordinator, and office manager. We have a co-management model where our finance manager and operations manager work collaboratively to fulfill the role of executive director. We also have a newly formed board of directors, which includes 3 grower owners and 3 employee owners. Our board guides the business in bigger picture decision-making, while the employees manage the day-to-day operations. Due to the seasonal nature of seed businesses, you can see I've listed averages for hours worked per week. So for some roles, this varies greatly depending on the time of year. Obviously, with order fulfillment, that happens more often at the start of the year, January, February, March onward. I think changing workload based on the season is one of our biggest challenges, which is why we all agree as coworkers to do our best to help one another when one of us is feeling really overwhelmed. We regularly check our priorities all together. Our busiest months are November through March, so we try to plan for personal vacations in the summer months. We have one coworker who works remotely, our bookkeeper, located in Sandpoint, Idaho, and the rest of us work at an office in Boise, Idaho. The office is approximately 710 square feet, not including the bathroom or kitchen area. And I know that's kind of a random thing to share, but we recently just moved, and that was something we had no idea how much space we needed. So I just wanted to provide that number. Again, 710 square feet. That fits all of us employees, 4 of us in office, and all of our seeds and packets. So that's a basic overview of our business model at Snake River Seed Cooperative. Next, Dan will describe their business model. Dan, you are up.
All right, so I'm part of Tourne-Sol Cooperative Farm. And if you were in the last, I just gave a talk, so you may have heard some of this, but there'll also be new stuff, so stick around. We started in the fall of 2004 with 5 people who had met in university, or I was one of those 5 people, and we started a worker co-op, and we've been running ever since. At this point, we now have 7 members in our co-op, and we're about 20 or 21 people in the whole team. In that, we're vegetable growers and seed growers. So there's about half the people work predominantly in vegetable production and the other half work in seed production. And some of the summer vegetable crew joins the warehouse in the winter as one way that we can offset that variable workload that Reiley mentioned. And most of our team is full season at this point, which is something we can offer because of those two worlds we live in. So I'm on the far end, holding some cucumbers. We're situated in Les Cèdres, Quebec. This is in Canada, 45 minutes west of Montreal. Though with recent construction, it's sometimes a lot longer to get in downtown from than that. And these are our fields. We have a total of 17 acres, but once you cut out access paths and all that, we're down to 12 cultivated acres. And on those 12 cultivated acres, we grow 6 acres of vegetables, 1 acre of seeds, and about the difference would be cover crops as part of our longer term rotation. So we began predominantly as vegetable growers, and we grow a lot of different vegetables, but mostly staples. And we started off with CSA and farmers markets. We were doing 110 CSA shares in our first year, 2 farmers markets. At this point, we just do 500 weekly CSA shares, which is quite a bit, and we phased out markets. And then, so this is what one of our on-farm CSA looks like a few years ago. And then we're also seed growers. And for a long time, the seed started off very small. We had $700 of seed contracts in our first year, and it's just kind of more or less doubled every year since then. And at this point, it's bigger than our vegetable operation. So what I'm just going to go through is 2 series of slides about what 2 series of crops about what seed production looks like on our farm, just so you can situate a little bit who we are. So this is tomatoes, is a wet seeded crop. There was a time where this is when we had scaled up, where we, instead of using like a stick or like a piece of 2x4 to squish tomatoes, we started using boots. And at this point, so we'd squish them with boots, and then we'd go through some hardware cloth to take out the flesh, get the seeds out. At this point, we're now at a point where we're using more mechanized equipment like a millet seed extractor to process our tomatoes, our peppers, sometimes cucumbers. And we were able to be profitable at this level, except we can probably do about 5 times more with these crops. And so when we hit a plateau of what we could physically handle, that was what pushed us to get to the next level. Here's another shot of the millet. And so we fill up big pails or smaller pails of tomato juice, and then we'll let them ferment for a couple of days, and then we'll fill it up with water. We decant, and there's a lot of seed on the bottom. And then we want to get it dry as quick as possible. So depending what time of year, sometimes we can just put it in like mesh bags in the greenhouse and kind of squish it a few times and it'll dry it in a couple of hours. And other times it takes longer. So we have these screen boxes with screens on the bottom. And we have a forced air dryer that we used also to help ventilate it. So that's kind of what a wet seed crop looks like on our farm. And here is a dry seed crop. So this is a crop of Mizuna, a Brassica rapa. So you can see there's a fair amount. There are some holes here and there where we've done some roguing just to make sure it's true to type. Though this crop looks like it's pretty true to type. We'll also eliminate any plants that look a little bit not as vigorous. And then, you know, they go to flower. There's a million and more bees and insects of all types in there. And then when the seed pods turn like a bright green, or this, and we know they're not ready, and then when they turn kind of this golden color, this is a visual indicator that they're ready. And if we run our hands through these plants, we'll hear the seeds shattering on the ground. And so we want to get them before the plants do that. And so we're in a fairly wet climate. So we can't dry things too long outdoors. So we cut plants and bring them in and into our greenhouse. And then we'll let things after ripen in the greenhouse. Then we'll take those tarps back out. In the case of like a brassica, we'll just stomp on it. And that pretty much is the best way for us to clean it. We do have a modified wood chipper soil shredder that we use also for threshing. And we're looking at more stuff, but there is a fair amount of, you know, just handwork and stomping. And then our basic tools are some screens to take out the bigger stuff and a lot of fans to winnow what's happening. And this is back before masks were so popular like they are nowadays. One of the things I would always say is make sure you're wearing a mask when you're working with destined materials. Marie-Claude here is maybe should have that down, but for the picture. So here's some more seed cleaning. And we do have other pieces of equipment that we use. We have a clipper and some spiral separators, but screens and fans go a long way. And like this is all that's been used for these seeds here. And I think these seeds also, and then afterwards we bring them in, we pack them up into our packs, and then, you know, we send them out through our online store, and we have retail seed racks with seeds in a number of stores across Quebec and Canada. Yeah, so that's kind of what seed production looks like on our farm. There's also, I've recorded a video of a tour of our actual seed warehouse that you can find on the Organic Seed Commons site, and I'll be answering some questions tomorrow. So combined with what we'll be talking about when we get into the seed inventory systems, there's more information coming. And then I wear another hat, which will be very visible in this presentation. I run what I call the Farmer Spreadsheet Academy. And this is something that came out of a love for crop planning and spreadsheets that has blossomed over the years. And so I support farmers with their spreadsheets and their farm systems. And you will see some of those spreadsheets shortly. So I will wrap up here, and I'm going to stop sharing, and I'm going to hand it back to Reiley.
Awesome. Thanks for sharing, Dan. That was really great. So I also have a love for spreadsheets, which is why most of my presentation today will be focused on inventory management. For our business, inventory management is closely linked to our seed growing model. So that's the way that we assign crops. It's all related to how much seed do we have in stock right now. So I'll also briefly discuss our online store, seed packing, order fulfillment, and shipping methods. And later on, we can dive into the really important question, is it data or data? Just kidding. But for me, apparently it's both. So I'm sure you'll hear me pronounce it both ways. As I've watched the business grow, one thing I've noticed is it gets harder and harder to track data and crop information as you add more crops, more growers, and more employees. We previously used Google Sheets for managing our crop data. This worked okay for us, but we constantly had to take turns using the main spreadsheet with the inventory information. So as the business grew and we added more coworkers, this caused challenges because more people needed access to the same inventory spreadsheet every day. We also needed to see different columns for our various roles So the spreadsheet organization would change often as different coworkers would hide columns to tailor it for their purpose that day. It's possible to avoid this problem by capping the business at a certain size, like 2 or 3 employees, which we have considered. Unfortunately, we realized that with less than 5 employees, we were not able to allow for the flexibility needed for being human. It's really hard to take a day off from work, much less a week, if there is no one available to cover your workload. So for us, we had to grow the business to at least this size to give us some wiggle room. And with 5 employees right now, we do okay, but honestly, it would be ideal for us if we had 1 or 2 more. And there are so many things that we cannot predict, like illness, that take priority over the business. At Snake River Seed Cooperative, 2 of our values are sacred relationship with the earth and producer-driven economic models. I think about these values often and how it is a balancing act for us in the business. On the one hand, we are trying to be as efficient as possible in the office so that both employees and growers can make a living wage. And on the other hand, we recognize we are not machines and we cannot work so fast that we cause physical injury to our hands or burn out completely. To us, honoring employee health is connected to our value of sacred relationship with the earth. This balancing act is why I think data management is so important, because we just don't have time to deal with messy data. So if your data is organized correctly, it will provide more time and mental energy for you to focus on building relationships with your growers and customers. For example, you can create formulas that automatically give you the information you need, such as how much to pay a grower in a certain year, rather than manually calculating payment lists for every grower that you need to pay. I also want to say this is a learning process. Several times we have had to reorganize our data as we learn our mistakes. I know many of us don't enjoy data management or spreadsheets. I don't think it's necessary to have someone on your team with a passion for spreadsheets, but I do think it is useful. The good news is, if you can't afford to hire someone who loves spreadsheets, Dan and I are going to provide links to templates that you can copy and customize for your business as you please. I love doing this work, so if you ever run into a problem and you'd like assistance, please reach out to me if you are using the website Coda. So what is Coda? It's an amazing cloud-based website that allows you to create your own databases, multiple views of the same databases, and so much more. We do not work for Coda, we simply love the uses we have found for it and want to share the possibilities with others. We use Coda for our employee manual, task management, our timesheets, and more. Coda offers a free version with a data limit and no time limit, so you can use the free version for as long as you want before you commit to purchasing a plan. Okay, so now I'm going to share my screen with everyone. This will just take me one moment. Okay, great. So this is the, it's called a playground. So it is the inventory management playground that I have created in Coda. And I call it a playground because this is a place where you can play with information, tables, formulas, formatting, whatever you'd like. So what you can do is you can copy this doc by clicking on this button here. And I will share the link to this in the chat later on. So I'm going to click on that. This is how it copies. Okay, so this document will show you examples of tables we use currently to manage inventory and seed production. The exciting thing about Coda is your ability to create and customize tables. Some tables you'll see in this playground are views of one main table, and other tables are standalone tables that don't require multiple views. We found that we continuously improve our documents in Coda as they release new features and as we learn more about what is possible. I also want to give a quick shout out to, and a hell yeah, we give hell yeahs at Snake River Seeds, to the many people who have contributed to the creation of these tables, including my coworkers, Casey, Cassie, Anna, Danny, Melissa, Mary Kay, and several of our growers, including Ted, Leslie, Teresa, Russell, and Kelly. So thank you, everyone. Okay, so we're going to get started looking at just quickly the table of contents. So what we're going to look at today, there's five main tables that I'll be showing you: the original reference, the list, the inventory table, the 2022 crop list, as well as an out of stock table. So we're going to start with the original reference. So the original reference is a single list of all varieties we offer. We carry over 300 varieties, but I've narrowed it down to just 3 for this playground so it won't be overwhelming to view. So how the original reference works is all of the other tables in the variety column are linked back to this first table. So that's why I call it the original reference. It's a way so that all of the tables can be linked to one another through this same common table. Next, I'm going to show you the list. So this is where I get really excited because the list includes basically all of the information that we need about varieties. And what I have found is that the information that we want to store grows every year. There's more information that I'm wanting to keep. So how this works is every variety is listed here in the list. That's what we call it. And you can see we've got the variety names here, and this is where it's connected to the lookup. Oops, sorry, let me move this. There we go. So this is connected to the lookup column here. And you can see it's connected back to the original reference. So like I said, every table is going to have this set up this way so that we can reference the information in the list in other tables through that column. So what we do is when we add a new variety, we add all of this information. You can see botanical name, life cycle, price per ounce, lot code, the type, the number of seeds, the measurement, if we need a photo, if it's web store exclusive, if it's an heirloom, when to plant it. It just goes on and on. So I don't want to bore you all, but we also have our seed saving and growing tips here, so we can share this information with growers really easily. That's something that has been major, just to be able to just provide this information to growers when they sign up for a crop right at the beginning, so they understand what they'll need to do. So a really cool thing about Coda is that there are multiple ways to view the same information. So we just looked at the table view here. And this is a detail view. So for people who do not like spreadsheets, this is the exact same information, but it's laid out in a different way that is just more visually pleasing. And what I have found is that there are so many different uses for these different tables. So I enjoy spreadsheets, but I also really like this detail view, so I use it in different situations. Okay, so next I'm going to show you our inventory management tables. And I'm really excited about this. There are many different pages here. These ones are all connected back to the inventory table, which you can see down at the bottom of this page. And I also just want to say these are lots that are fictional. So I've changed information, I've changed germination percentages and grower codes, just so everyone knows this is not like real data. So when you look at this, it's pretty overwhelming. There's just a lot of information here, which is why we like having the multiple views of this one table. So the first thing I'll show you all is we have an out of stock page. And this is where if something goes out of stock, we add it to this table here. So this is a standalone table. And the way that we will add something to this table is by opening up this table down here. Let's say basil went out of stock. So I'm just going to search for that in this search bar. And then when I add the initial out of stock date, it populates up into this table up here through this filter. So I hope I'm not moving too quickly. How this filter works is it says if the initial out of stock date, this column here, is not blank, then the rows will show up in this table. So that's how this works. Okay, so we also have an area where we list all of the seeds that are currently being cleaned. So most of our growers do clean their seed on their own, but once we receive it, if it's just not quite clean enough, then we will clean the seed further. So what we can do is we actually previously had a coworker who cleaned seeds that wasn't in the office. So when something did need cleaning, I would just add in notes here like winnow 20% of seed. And then if I click on this button here, it sends my coworker a notification to their email, and it also checks this box at the same time. So that's how the button becomes inactive. But if I uncheck that box, I can send them another notification. Okay, so I'm next going to show you all the Germination Manager's view. So our Germination Manager completes the intake steps and ensures new seed lots flow through the tables below until they either are added to our inventory or removed from the inventory if they don't pass germination. So all of these tables on this page are different views of the inventory table. And there are many ways to set up the filters within the tables that allows lots to flow through. I get really excited about this because of all of the possibilities. So I chose one way to show you all today, which is that you can have a column titled status. And then each of these tables can be filtered. So in the first germination test table, you only see the lots that have that as the status. So you can manually update this when a lot is ready to move through your process. So I'm actually not going to show you all of these tables. There are several steps here, but you can look at this later on if you would like. Oh, there's another view I want to show you all. So another cool thing about Coda, I showed you the table view and the detail view where you can search really easily and it doesn't look like a spreadsheet. So another way that you can view information is as a chart. So this is, again, this is our inventory table. The data is just kind of a little overwhelming, but Coda has all of these different ways to view the information. So one way is to do a chart. So I really enjoy using this when I'm working on a project because I can see if I'm 50% of the way done with a project. In this chart in particular, what it's showing us is how many seed lots have been sold already. So that means they're gone from our inventory. How many are currently in our inventory, how many are being cleaned, and so on. You can see all of the different statuses. Okay, so now the sales manager view. This page shows a view of the inventory table that is tailored for the sales manager. So in our business model, the sales manager is in charge of creating invoices for wholesale accounts. Wholesale accounts prefer to receive varieties that we know won't go out of stock. So the sales manager uses the availability column here while creating wholesale invoices. And to calculate availability, we compare what we have in our inventory at the start of the season. So that's this column here, total start weight for 2022. We compare that to the sales from 2021. And this calculates that we have a 5-year supply when we're comparing these two numbers of how much seed is in stock. So the wholesale manager can see, okay, we have 2-year supply of this. I'm going to assign that on as many invoices as I'd like. But for Sandpoint tomato, I'm not going to give that to anyone. It's out of stock. It will also say if there's less than 1-year supply and so on. And the formula is located here. And so the formulas in Coda are slightly different than Google Sheets. There definitely is a bit of a learning curve, but there's lots of resources online with Coda where you can ask questions. And for me personally, it did take a little while, but I picked it up fairly quickly. And now I'm able to easily take formulas from Google Sheets and put them into Coda. Okay, so next, this is our bookkeeper's view. So again, this is connected to the inventory table. You can see here when you click on this link, it shows you all of the different tables that are just multiple views of this parent inventory table. So the bookkeeper's view of the inventory table shows grower payments for crops they grew in the previous season. The table is filtered to show only varieties that have a status of in inventory. so we don't pay for a crop before it has passed germination. The bookkeeper adds a payment date and a check number at the end here so we can keep track of when growers were paid and make sure that we pay them for all of their crops. So the cool thing about Coda is that it will do summaries for you so you can, just quickly see how much a grower needs to be paid. It will do a total sum at the bottom as well. So I really enjoy this feature. The bookkeeper also tracks product loss by removing the data from the inventory table. So the reason why we pull data from the inventory table is because if something doesn't pass germination, we're not going to sell the seed. So we don't want that seed weight to be included in our total start weight for the season. Otherwise, that'll throw off our numbers. Basically, it tells us we think we have more seed than we actually do. So how this works is if a variety doesn't pass germination, like this one here, this is still connected to the inventory table. But a coworker can change this status to product loss, and then just add notes in the germination notes column about what occurred, why it didn't pass germination. And then you can just take this data here. You can actually cut it out entirely and paste it right here. Oh, I went one too far. Sorry, give me one moment. There we go. And I lost the germination notes from that copy and paste. Sorry, guys. So then this removes it from this table, like I said, so that it doesn't affect your data. But you can see here, you can see how much weight was removed and the value of it too, so that you can just track your product loss and understand how much money are you losing from seeds that aren't passing germination or have other issues. Okay, so the next page is the seed production manager's view. So the seed production manager in our business model oversees crop assignments to our growers at the start of every season. And this is my job title. So how I do this is I have this column here called crop assignments. And this is a really crazy formula that is my baby. And I love showing people it because I worked very hard to create this formula. What it does is it compares the availability of a crop and the life cycle. And then it will tell me, based on both of those things, whether I need to assign the crop to a grower this year or not. So I'm just going to show you very quickly the formula again, because it's my baby and it's a crazy beast. And luckily, you don't have to reinvent this. You can copy and paste this formula if it's something you'd like to do. And then you can start to understand it by looking at it more. Okay, so as the seed production manager, a part of my job is also to make sure that when we receive a new intake, I double check it with the contracted amount just to make sure that the grower sent in not way over the contracted amount. So I will add that to this table here when a new intake comes in, and this is the inventory table. It's just one view of it that shows me the intakes. And then if I need to communicate with a grower, I also have a table here for that, where the status can be changed to communicate with grower. If there was a germination issue, that's usually why I would do that. Okay, so next I'm going to show you all the seed production management section, which we call the grower hub. So we decided to create a grower hub where we track information for crops that are being grown this season. Every grower has access to the grower hub, and they also have their own views so they can easily find their crop list and provide crop check-ins to us throughout the season. So with the grower hub, how it works is Coda only charges, if you are going to do a paid plan, Coda only charges for the doc maker is what they call it. So they don't charge money for anyone who is viewing a document. So all of our growers are able to use Coda for free on the grower hub. No one has to pay anything additional for that. So what we have in the seed production database, or sorry, seed production management section, AKA the grower hub, we have our seed production database. So this is where growers add crop information. So you can just quickly look up a crop. If you're growing basil, you could search it here. You could find all of the other growers who have grown basil in the past and see their crop notes here. We also have an available crop list. So every season we assign crops to dozens of growers using the available crop list in our grower hub. Before we used Coda, we assigned crops by email, and it was really crazy to assign crops to 40 different people via email. It was a huge headache. So how this works now is all of the growers have access to this page. What they do is they come in here, they see a crop that they want to grow, they add their grower code here, and then they tell me if they need stock seed. So what I do next is I have a page called Requested Crop List, and this is in my internal view. So this is where I can see, oh, this grower FR requested this crop. I just assign it to them like that. And then as soon as this is assigned, their crops will appear on their section in the grower hub. So every grower has their own crop list that they can see. And this is also where they can provide crop check-ins. So what they'll do is throughout the season, they'll just send me a little note here about each of their crops just to let me know if there's something going wrong or really great. So that's been incredibly useful. Okay, so I just have a couple of minutes left, so I'm going to move on to our online store and order fulfillment. Our online store is run by Shopify. We previously used WooCommerce, and we had many issues with that web store provider. There were multiple times that our website went down, so we did switch to Shopify in the fall of 2018, and we've had very minimal issues. So what we do for organization is we have one container of every seed that we offer in the front of the office, and we also have one packet box of every seed that we offer. So what a seed packer will do, they'll find the variety that they need and the packets that they need, and then they will pack them. We hand pack all of our seeds. From there, once the packets are packed, they are placed in alphabetized tubs, as you can see here. And this does work pretty well for us, but we've got overflow happening. So these are boxes with packets that are packed inside of them. So we are considering changing this setup in the future. I've heard that some people have like really narrow boxes that are the perfect size for packets. So we are considering switching to that option. So once the packets are packed, the order fulfillment team will pull packets directly from these bins, and they'll pull orders. And we use recycled envelopes and boxes from Eco Enclose, which you can see here. For online orders, we ship through Shopify's shipping service, which is connected to USPS. We've added the weight for every product to Shopify, so it speeds up the shipping process for us. And we wanted to weigh our packets anyway for cost accounting, so it just made sense for us to take that data and put it into Shopify as well. And just a quick note about cost accounting, it is very important. We found that there were a few varieties that we were losing money. So one variety in particular, we were sending out $5 worth of seed in every packet. So that was very cringeworthy when we learned this. So I definitely recommend doing this work of weighing your packets, seeing how much the seed is worth in the packet so that you're not losing money. That's, yeah, obviously a big deal. And for wholesale orders, we purchase postage at USPS.com using their click and ship service. And last year, we purchased a Rollo printer. So you can see this sticker here. This is from the Rollo printer. It prints out a label for the postage that we purchase, and that has been also a huge improvement to our order fulfillment process. I would definitely recommend that. Okay, thanks everyone for listening. Dan, you are next.
Thanks, Reiley. That was fantastic. I love that stuff. So I am going to jump into a Google Sheet inventory system. And this is a system that is a simplified version of what we use at Tourne-Sol. I think what happens in any system that you have, you're going to start making it adapt to yourself. And what we have going on is a bit of a monster. So I've tried to streamline what the most important parts are that I think you might be interested in seeing. And one of the things I also want to show is some of the formula use that connects different things. And so some of what we're doing looks similar to what Reiley's doing. Some of it's different. So I do have, okay, where is that? Let me just get things set up and then I will share my screen. And I do have a link for the spreadsheet that you can get. I'm going to put that in the chat box. So you can go and get the spreadsheet there. And maybe you have to put a www first for it to turn into a link. Anyway, it should be a link. But if you bring that into a browser, you'll get there. Did I just lose my camera? No, come back. If you do go to that link, I do have a weekly newsletter. You can sign up for it, but you can get the spreadsheets without giving me your email, and you can just head off and do whatever you want with them. So I'm going to share my screen. Nope, that's not. Okay, sorry. Let me share the tab. We see this? Yeah, that's what we're trying to see. Okay, so here we are. And so these are the sheets. And there's sort of three, what I call the pillars, or the cornerstones of the Farmer Spreadsheet Academy. There's three things that I try to do. One is, the first thing is I want to enter data only one place. And you can see that that's what Reiley was doing also, have that general information place, and then you're always referring back to it. Oh, one thing I'll say before I jump in too deep is in here at the end, there's a tab that's called For More Information. So I have been putting out different spreadsheet tips. Some of them are recorded, some of them are pasted, some of them, one is an Instagram reel. And you can see, if you want to go deeper dive into that, you can go see some of these. Some of the earliest ones, the video quality is not fantastic, so judge the quality of the information, not the video. But I try to track everything that I think is more important in here. So maybe I'll just start with the end product. What is being created is a dashboard that can show different statuses of what the seed's going on. So these are the different SKUs that we have. These are different products. And then these are different lots. And I actually see there's something that we might even have to change in a moment. Why do I see two of those? Okay, anyway, I maybe update something after this, but and then there's the germ status of it. So the last germ date, and then the germ percent. And then there's how much weight was started off with. And then there is received, packed, and what the current weight is. So you can see this is the end result. And in this part here, you don't do anything here. This is basically a view. So this is something that is showing you a snapshot of a bunch of other information. And some of it, like here, this is actually one formula that I'm going to put in green. This formula here is what creates all of this. So if I delete that one formula, then everything else should disappear. And everything else is looking up to it. So the three things I try to do is the first cornerstone is I want to enter data one place at a time, or only one place, and not enter the same data, copy paste it all over, because that's a place that you can make mistakes. And that's a place that you're going to get tired of and maybe get sloppy and not do it as much as you should. The second thing is looking up information in other places. And then the third thing is going to be the third thing that is creating reports, look at that information. And so I'm going to go through those steps. So here is where products are created. And so this might be the equivalent of the general information a little bit that Reiley was showing. So a product would have a SKU, if you have a name and a variety. Like, so this is a crop, and then the variety name. And then this is actually just using a formula to join these two together. So that's being referred to as a caret nantes in different parts of the sheets. And then there's the seed count per pack, so number of seeds per pack, and then the average seeds per ounce. And then there's the ounces, so that means sort of the ounces per pack. I actually tend to work with grams, but I decided to go imperial for this one. And so this here is kind of the standard information that you're looking up everywhere else. The next place, and we'll go through a variety. So we could create something. So let's say, so on our farm, BR401 is arugula And, we actually don't have a specific variety name, but it's something that we've been saving a long time. I'll just call it Tourne-Sol arugula. And we put, so it winds up being something like, I don't know, let's say it's 1,000 seeds per pack for this thing. And then the average seeds per ounces, it's, I don't usually think about arugula in ounces. So I know that let's just say it's 8,000 seeds per ounce, and don't trust that number. And that would mean that there's, it looks like 1/8 of an ounce in each pack of arugula. So this would be the beginning. And then the start inventory, this is a sheet this is what we already have. So let's say we already had some arugula from the past. We could go in. So this little check mark. So this is called data validation, and it's looking up the lots that are the SKUs that are in the product sheet. And so if I choose BR401, this pops up and says arugula Tourne-Sol, and this is using a combination of formulas called index match to look up the name over here. You can also use a VLOOKUP to do that, or a filter to look up, but index match is pretty clean. And then we'll have a lot with it. So let's say it's something that we produced at Tourne-Sol, so TS, and maybe we produced it in 2019, and it was lot 01, the first lot of that year. Everyone has different ways that they do lots, but you should have a lot system that is clear to you. And then the dollars per pound, this one, well, we'll look at where that's coming from, and we'll talk about maybe why it's not there right now. And then here is the weight that we have in inventory. So let's say we have 2 pounds in inventory. So this is one of the variety we have. And if the sheet's doing its job, yeah, we see that over here, that BR401 is showing up right here. And there's something funny here that I hope it's not gonna, oh, it looks like it lost a, okay, we'll see if that's going to be a problem for this presentation, if we can just talk our way through that broken formula. But so here's the start of the inventory. So this is what we currently have in inventory. And then the acquisition is what we're getting. So this would be the plan that we're working with. And so some stuff we're going to grow on ourselves. Let's say we know we're going to run out of arugula. We're going to be, so in this case, there's a drop down that's either being grown, it's being contracted, or it's being purchased from a wholesale. And so let's say we're going to grow it on farm, and we're choosing arugula. So arugula shows up here, and that's something we're going to produce this summer. So it'll be TS 22003. That's the third lot here. 001 is the tomato, jaune flamme, 002 is black cherry, and then 003 is this arugula. And then the dollars per pound of what we value it at, let's say it'd be 270 or so. And let's say we think we need 10 pounds for the season. So this is the plan. And you could have this hooked up to other sales sheets, which I don't have sales information linked into here, but you can use a lot of the same tools to link that into it. Later on, when it comes in, so maybe we've finished cleaning it and it's going to be September 15th, and we've actually harvested 13 pounds. So compared to what we actually were hoping to get. Now, the next, so this is, the next section is what we're actually packing. And here, we're going to start off with the date that we're packing some. So let's say right now we're packing some of that older brassica, and let's say we're doing it today. So the 9th of February. And then I'm going to choose a lot, because I'm not packing by variety, I'm packing by lot, though I'll have looked at what my different lots are. And so in this case, from the dashboard, I can see that I have a lot that is TS 19001. It should say the current weight, and I would see how much is there, but I don't see that at this moment. So I'd go in, and that's the TS, what was it, 19001, and it shows up the SKU, the product, the ounces per pack. You could have this linked to, if you're doing it by scoops, what scoop you use, or you can have other information in there. And then there'd be the amount of packs I want to fill. And let's say I want to fill 1,000 packs. And so there is a weight that this dashboard has, but when I'm actually packing, what I want to know is how much real seed that I pack. So I'm going to take, and I might have 2 bags or 2 containers of this arugula probably not with 2 pounds, but let's say there was 25 pounds. I might have that in two containers or 2 bins in the bulk room. So I'll take something out and I will take a certain amount and I'm going to weigh that amount. So I know that I have 2 pounds in stock, but maybe I just take I'm going to pack 100 packs to make sure it works. I'm only take a portion of that weight, and then I am going to weigh it at the end. And let's say I wind up with 0.1 pounds at the end. And so that means I physically used 0.9 pounds. The pounds that it was expecting was 0.78 because I'm looking for about 1/8 of an ounce, 100 packs. Those two multiplied together means that I should be using 0.78. So I've used more than I need. And in this case, it's a 15% overpack. And we sort of aim for between 0 and 5% overpack. And we kind of budget around that. 15%, if it's something that is not worth a ton, then that might only be a few more cents per pack. But if it's something else, that might be 20 cents per pack. And that can have a big impact on the economics. So you want to avoid that $5 per pack seed cost. And so here is so this comes in, and this is the overpack. And so this amount of pounds that was used is what we're seeing show up over. So this is where the sheet is. I should have test run this again. I'm going to check it after the session. But the pounds, no, it's the packs. It was using the 0.9 pounds. And then there's also the germ test that we can run. This is loading right now. So with the germ test, let's say in early in the new year, January 1st, we were going to test that seed. And we can test the seed, it pops up. Let's say we're going to test 100 seeds, and we sow that on the 10th of January. Then our first time that we're going to count it is a few days later. And so let's say we go in on the 14th of January, and at that point, arugula goes pretty quick. And it's possible we're even at like 95% or 96% already. And maybe there's a couple other tests. And then that'll give us a total count, and the count divided by the seeds is the percent. Now, something that happens is you might do multiple tests on a lot because you're either recleaning it or you did something wrong or it dried out, you had a power failure. And so there's, in here in the dashboard, it's using a max if formula to draw up the latest date that you tested it and shows you what the date is that it's showing up on. So those are the different pieces of what is feeding into this one dashboard. Now, you can add a lot more, but it's going to all be the same kind of formulas. There's going to be formulas that are like sum if to add things up, index match to look things up. And a lot of it winds up being the architecture of how it fits together. And I'm sure that was a big thing for Reiley to fit with their team, figuring out what it is you're trying to get to speak together. And then there's complex formulas putting that together. For the dashboard, I'm going to try to just fix this really quickly. I don't want to waste our time here, but maybe I'll just show what this is doing here is it is filtering these. It's filtering the information. It's looking up the lots that appear in both the acquisition and the starting inventory, and it's bringing them in here. And I think that's why it's showing 2 lots, which I'm going to want to fix. And then the germination, the germ date, this is looking up the maximum date for a specific lot. And then the germ, it's looking up, it's using a sum if formula for that date, what was the percentage? And then the start pounds, this is just a simple formula called sum if that is looking up for this specific lot in the start inventory, which is 3.5 pounds and these different weights. And then here, the received pounds. So this we could, so what I'd be looking for is in the acquisition, and I'll just fix this right here. What we're looking for is the acquisition that is higher than, oh, is that what? Okay. It's the date, that's what that's there. I think I deleted a date. And so I'm just going to get rid of this last part of the formula. And I was trying to simplify them. And so this shows the received weight. And this shows the different weight that would have been received at different times. What I had before was trying to show that if you could set a new inventory, it would only look at what you acquired after that inventory. But I thought that was a little too complicated to explain, so I deleted part of it, but not the whole thing. Now I have to explain it to you all. But so here, it shows the received weight that's been received, and then it's what's been packed out, and then what we currently have in stock. And that should correspond to, and so here, this is the part that's after the start inventory. I'm just going to close that. Okay, so taking the dates out. So here, the start pounds of arugula I think this is also looking at a date, isn't it? Okay, I'm going to have to go that, but if we started up with 2 pounds, would have packed 0.9, this should say 1.1 pounds. But yeah, so we have an inventory dashboard that shows what's going on as an end result. And so there's a series of different formulas that you can do. And what I like about Google Sheets is that it's pretty easy to share it with anybody on your team, and you can have multiple people working on the sheets at the same times. And we actually do have a lot of folks going through these sheets, and we have different reports that show different information to different people. Now, I'm really interested in Coda, and there's also Airtables, another alternative, and Google Tables, which might be coming out shortly, which a lot of the stuff, the logic that's going into those is the same kind of logic you're going to need to use to create. You have to understand the formulas one way or the other, the architecture one way or the other, and then you got to put it in something. And I think one thing that is nice with Airtables, but is that there's a little bit more internal link, or not Airtables, Coda, that there's a little bit more internal linking on the back end. So if you delete a formula, you might not be able to delete stuff accidentally as easily. But so this would be my walkthrough through these spreadsheets, and I'm going to step back out of here. And I hope that I haven't done a disservice with my troubleshooting. And thank you for listening. I'm going to bring up I'm going to bring back the slideshow, which has one last slide in it. And we'll so we have some contact information if you want to get in touch with us. You can find your information's here. Both of us, I believe, would love to answer any kind of questions about, well, I'm not great at Coda, but I'm happy to answer any spreadsheet questions in here, and you can find our different information. So thank you on my behalf for listening to us. Do you want to say anything, Reiley, before we jump into questions?
Yeah, I do have just a few last thoughts. So I was thinking about when I first started working at Snake River Seeds in 2016, like what information, just some, basic things could have helped us. So I just kind of jotted these down to share with you all. So first, if you are leading a team of people, I highly recommend leadership training. A very small percentage of people have inherent leadership and communication skills, and the rest of us need to learn these skills. So definitely recommend that. Clear and thoughtful communication has been a major game changer for us as coworkers and with our relationships with growers. Second, identify your passion or your gift and try to reach the point financially where you can hire other people to do the roles in the business that you either don't want to do or you don't feel confident doing. A common theme I have seen is allowing bookkeeping to become a lower priority. And I can say firsthand that you must prioritize your bookkeeping or else it will come back to bite you later on. Third, identify your values for your business and allow them to guide you in decision-making and your marketing. And fourth, this is a major one for me personally, find a way to create an annual task list with dates so you aren't reinventing the wheel every year. So due to the seasonal nature of seed companies, we have dozens of tasks that only happen once per year, and it's really easy to forget about them. So thank you so much, everyone, for attending. I am really excited about the Q&A portion, so let's do it.
I'm going to take down this communication info in a couple seconds. So if you're interested in it, maybe you can take a screenshot and then I'll take it off so that you're looking at us instead of looking at it. And maybe I'll hand it to Nate.
Sure. All right, folks. Thank you so much. That was amazing. And I think probably the best way for us to go through questions is I like to do the stack method. So if you have a question and you want to speak, you can just type stack in the chat and we'll open up we'll give you the floor. Otherwise, you can just type your questions in the chat and we'll throw them to folks. While you think about questions, I just thought I would, I didn't ask permission from Dusty and my colleagues to do this, but I'm gonna just share you and take 30 seconds to show you what our cluster blank of a spreadsheet system looks like, so you can see why we're so excited to move to Coda. I just I found we've been selling seeds online since 2018, and this is what our spreadsheet looked like in 2018 when we had 72 varieties, I think 71 varieties. Pretty simple. This was how we organized everything. And this is what our system looks like now. A little sneak peek. Yeah, it's a pretty funny. All those colors really do mean something, but you can see we've rather outgrown Google, our method of using Google spreadsheets. So pretty excited to jump into something like Coda. All right. Let's see. We've got a few questions here, and the first one is from my colleague Dusty, wondering if anyone's figured out printing on packets. It looks like you all do. You have pre-printed packets, but maybe and we've had some discussion on this already. If anyone has printers, printer solutions to get us away from using labels that we stick on them, please put those in the chat. All right, Leah. Oh, yeah, if there are questions from earlier that weren't answered, feel free to put them in the chat now.
Are you asking that question about the labels and the printers, or are you just naming questions?
Well, I was, yeah, if you have something on that, please. I see yours is more complicated than maybe what Dusty's asking about, but please do.
Well, so one thing to know about whether you're using Airtable or Coda or Google Sheets or any spreadsheet system, changing the system won't necessarily change your sheets. Like, what you need to start understanding is how to separate different types of information from each other, and like understanding that like the one column I love that you had was sort of the status, like going from doing the intake, the different things, understanding that those are different processes and will have different fields related to them or different decision making, is something that you need to start, or you'll need to do if you're going to make the transition effectively. And it's easy. Like, one thing, like just a beginning warning, is if you have a number and a word in a cell, you've made that cell unusable. So if you have 10 pounds and you write 10 lbs in there, you can't refer to that as in a formula. And so you can start to think, like, trying to break through down your spreadsheets to separate the different types of information from each other is what you'll need to do, whether you're moving to Coda or otherwise. And so one thing, if you're doing labels, you're going to need a spreadsheet that has, or it can be in Coda or an Airtable, you're going to need a spreadsheet that has the different types of information you have. So you're going to have a SKU on it. You might have a price if your price is variable, but maybe you don't. You're going to have a name. You're going to have maybe a variety name, maybe a scientific name. You can have a description. You might have, like, if you have a lot of growing information, that'll either be a paragraph, or if you want to display it as a chart, you're going to have like germination temperature, days to maturity. And each of those things is going to be a different column in your spreadsheet. And once you have that there, then you can do anything with this. And one of the things you can do, if you're using Excel or So Google Sheets is not fantastic at this. OpenOffice, LibreOffice, and Excel are much better. Is you can use what's called a mail merge, and you'll just choose, you'll make a template in a Word document of your envelope, and you'll say this field here is going to be the SKU, this field here is going to be the name, this field here is going to be whatever. And the different programs have a little bit of a different syntax, but they're all pretty similar. And then you can choose which item you want, and you push the mail merge button, and it's going to fill that up. And then you could print those packs out with that information. And being able to do, so you could also just create a bunch of different, like 150 different packs if you have 150 varieties, but I know you got a lot of varieties. And so having a way to really just keep that information in one place and then just mail merge it out is going to be much better. And back when we used to print some envelopes, we actually would export from Google Sheets as a CSV file, maybe as an OpenOffice doc, and we would do a mail merge from OpenOffice because we liked it so much better than the options that were with Google. And so we use 3.25 by 4.5 inch envelopes, I think, like just a standard envelope size. And one thing that I've been frustrated is there is no cheap printer that claims it can print on that. But I have found that most of them do. And so like we'll buy a printer online for a couple $100, and then we'll use it much smaller than you kind of figure out how to lay out the page. So does it have to be centered in the middle, or like how the printer is going to like it? But we've been able to found that most printers will let us print much smaller than the minimum size they claim they can print on. And then I think the really big question is how many packs per minute you can get. Like the one that I now have in my home office is one that we was just getting like 10 packs a minute or something. And then we found one that was a lot quicker, which is no longer easily available. So I can't recommend it to you. But trying, sometimes I don't know about now, but before there were supply chain problems, you could often find printers for like $100 or $150, and it might even come with a thing of ink. And then you could do a test run, and if you didn't like it, you could buy another one, and it'll probably still be worth the while. One thing to know about printing packs, though, is that you're just using the center of the toner, and so sometimes it wears out quicker than you might expect, or it'll do funny things, and which is why we've moved to pre-printed packs, and it's brought us such a great happiness.
All right, thank you. That's great. I'm going to go back to Peggy's question. Peggy says, I'm interested to hear how you calculate or forecast how many seed packs you need for a given year, and more specifically, the actual printed envelopes. I guess that's sort of a question of how do you anticipate sales in part based on the data from previous years? What do you anticipate for growth, and any insight on those questions?
Do you want to take that, Reiley, or you want me to go first?
Sure. Yeah. So we actually used to purchase more packets than we needed for 1 year, and we learned the hard way that was a bad idea. So we're not doing that anymore. But what we are planning to do moving forward is just look at our sales data in QuickBooks. That's what we use for bookkeeping, and we'll see how many packets were sold. We go through, take a physical inventory of what we have on hand, and then we compare, okay, if I have 500 packets and this past year we sold 1,000, then I'm going to buy 1,000 more just to make sure that I've got a little bit of wiggle room.
And anything to add on that?
Yeah, so we actually buy more packets than we need in a given year because we run out of packets and we always want to have them on hand. And so we don't put lot numbers on the actual packets when they get printed for us. We use a label gun, and we label them with the lots on it and the year. We don't actually have labels that have the germ rate, so we don't put our germ rate on. And by Canadian laws, if you have at least packed for like 2022, that's fine. And most home gardeners don't give us a hard time about it. A few do, but not many. As market gardeners, that's a whole other question. So because the lot number isn't on it, I can use the same pack for any lot of that variety. And what we have begun to do is, which, you know, when we're ordering, so we get packs from Cambridge Pacific, and the turnaround time really varies what time of year we're ordering and how many we're ordering. But these days, it can happen to be 10, 12 weeks. So if we want to be packing in December, that means that we got to have the order in sometime like in August or early September. And so, you know, we order in function of, we try to figure out what seed we have in stock and how much seed we're expecting. And then we kind of do the math to see how many packs that would be and how many years of sales that would be. And then we often will have enough packs to pack all the seeds we have. But if, like, recently we did a ground cherry seed harvest that we just harvested everything. And I think we have like 6 years of ground cherry seeds. We're not going to buy 6 years of packs. Like, we might buy a year and a half worth. And so that's one part of the equation. Then the other part is really basing ourselves on past year's sales. And knowing, we always ask the question, looking at past year's sales, did we run out of seed? Because let's say we had a crop failure and didn't have all the seed we wanted, and we just wound up selling 100 packs. That doesn't mean that if we had as much seed as we want, maybe we could have sold 1,000 or 2,000 and so we always have to just double check that number is interpret that number, what it means, before we make a projection based on that. We tend to grow and contract for 2 to 3 years. Well, a generous 2 years of seed when we're doing it. And these days, with just the growth that's happening in this industry, we're running out before those 2 years. So we're always a little bit stressed out with that part.
I have a question, a follow-up on that. Do you have a sense of what the minimum number of packets is of any given variety that it's worth, that Cambridge Pacific will even print? Like, will they print a run of 500 packets?
They'll print anything you pay for. And so it's not so much what the minimum is, it's what they're going to charge you for. And it's possible that, so their standard run is about 1,000 packs that they're going to run through the machine. And so if you're going for less than 1,000, the price is going to be, it's going to be almost like the 1,000. It's like almost, you should, so if you're doing 100 varieties and you can save $20 by going smaller, even though they're more expensive per pack, maybe that might make sense for you. But if you're just buying like 20 or 30, maybe just do that, bite the bullet and go for that 1,000. And like what we did when we transitioned to full color packs is we looked at our top 60 and top 100 varieties, looked at what we had in stock, and we went for those and bought a bunch of packs for that. And what happens is, so if you're doing online orders, it is surprising how little a nice pack matters. I mean, people like it when they open the thing, but that's not what sells it. If you do in-person sales, the pack is everything. Well, if you're doing seed rack sales, the pack is everything. If you're somewhere where you actually can stand behind it, you are more important than what the pack looks like. So, but if you are doing stuff that the pack has an impact, the moment some of your collection has a color pack and some of it doesn't, that color pack stuff is going to sell more. So you kind of put your top 60 or top 100 on like on a fast track to get more. And yeah, so it's just something to kind of think through. But they'll happily give you a quote. And once I find that I think they get quotes from all kinds of people, like any company. So, you know, depending on how busy they are, it might take them a bit of time to get back to you. But once you bought one time from them, they're very happy to give you a lot more care and love. And they're really great people to work with.
Yeah, we're big fans of them. We've been getting through them, and Ujama Cooperative started using them, and they've been very quick this year, but really happy. Good prices. I'm going to go back to this question. This is a quick one from Jocelyn. For Reiley, is cloud-based Coda able to be backed up?
I have not looked into that. I would guess yes, but I don't know for sure.
All right. Leah asks, do you ship directly through Shopify or use pirate ship, etc.? Do you do cubic rate shipping for larger items? Also, are you using jewelry scales? How do you print lot numbers and germ rates?
Okay. You want to go first, Dan?
I'm happy to have you go, and I'll fill in whatever you don't answer.
Okay, so yes, we use Shopify for shipping, and let's see. we don't use jewelry scales. For packing, what we do is we do number of seeds, not weight. So for every lot, we count the number of seeds. Well, almost every lot, we count the number of seeds one time to get the correct measurement. So it might be a 1/4 teaspoon. So then that's just the same measurement for every packet that we pack. And I know there were a few other questions in there.
Yeah, and I'll just follow up on that too. If you're getting into this for the first time, you want to buy a set of gunpowder spoons that have that's how they set the easiest way to get them. And even getting multiple types of spoons is really useful too. We have these little metal ones that have dash and pinch and all these tiny amounts, but the gunpowder spoons are really critical. The other question was about how do you print lot numbers and germ rates, and we sort of touched on that, but Reiley, maybe you.
Yeah. I'll just add that we have a stamp. So we just change the stamp for every time we're packing a seed, and we just stamp the packets.
Great. Oh yeah, there's some of those gunpowder spoons. Oh, Dan, you're on mute.
Sorry. These are the ones you're talking about, and they're like $15-20. Like, and you can get them all. They're so easy to get, so they're really fantastic as a good starting point.
Yeah, that's how we do it too, and it's been really huge. All right, I see a lot of comments. Anybody using seed packeting machines? It sounds like the two of you are not, but I know we have on the call somebody from Southern Exposure, and I know you have experience with that seed packing machine. Maybe if you're still on, I don't know if that was Ken or Ira or who was on there. I'm going to unmute you and see if you're willing to share a little bit about seed packeting machines and the economics of them.
No pressure.
No pressure. Irena, maybe. Ken, are you there? All right. I have spoken to them about this, and I've been told that if you're printing anything less, if you're filling anything less than 500 packets, it is not economical. It's not a good use of your time, simply because resetting the machine for the different sizes of seeds takes time and effort. So they've told me that for less than 500 pack runs, that machine is not useful, and so they still do a lot of packeting by hand. All right, let's see. John says, I run a one-man seed business and have really systematized my business to save on the time required to run it. Do you have any additional recommendations to save time on processes for someone in my position? The one person operation. No, that's kind of an open-ended question.
I think that I think there's not that much difference between one person and many people. Like, I think the same things that are going to make one. I think that sometimes the problem when you're one person is that you're keeping a lot in your brain, and when you're working with a team, there's a certain point where your brain is not enough, and people are going to need information that's there, and you have to learn how to get it outside of your brain. And I think that one person operations often don't do that because they just rely on themselves too much. So I don't think there's that much differences, but like what I think, so I don't even know what you're doing on your operation, so I can't comment on what to do differently. But what I would say is important is to really understand all the steps of what you're doing. And like, I can see that Reiley and her team have clearly, they've thought this through, you know, and you make flow charts of what you're doing and what's important at each step and what success looks like at each step. And you try to find when things you're doing somehow are an exception. Like if you say, this is how we do it, except in this case, that exception is a problem. You know, you got to figure out how to not have exceptions and that you can always get through to the end. And if there really is an exception, maybe it's something that you shouldn't offer. Like exceptions are a problem. And so one thing that we've changed in our operation recently, which kind of breaks my heart a bit, is that we for years sold bulk seed on our through our seed catalog. You could order, you know, a garden size pack, or you could order a quarter pound, or you could order a full pound. And it's something that I've spoken at a lot of OSA conferences about how you should do that. And with the volume of orders that we've been getting the last 2 years, we were running out of seed too quick. And so we needed to reduce the bulk. And then we were packing the bulk a lot more custom. Like we weren't getting enough orders so that we could pack all of it into like quarter pounds and half pounds. We were still at a point where, you know, when the orders come through spreadsheets, so it's fairly effective. We could see these are the formats we need to pack up special for these couple days of orders. And then we do it. That's extra work. It's so much quicker to just take an order and to know everything's on the wall, and you pull that stuff out, you throw it into something, and then you ship it out. And so that was something on our farm that we've phased out for now and are going to have to figure out how to add back in, because it's something that I actually really think it's important to have seed companies offering bulk seed, and I'm looking forward to it. One thing that I was a bit surprised to see with you, Reiley, is that you had a lot of your seeds were in bins that were flat and going through, and we have everything one on top of each other. Like, so it's kind of like a seed rack, and we can see everything. And so you can clearly see when something is out and you have to go for overstock, or you have to go pull more and or pack more, and or it's sold out. And so that's something that we made a transition a while ago. We actually made that. We used to sell it at live seed events, and we had stuff kind of like, I think of it as like record store style. And you know, one right after the other. And then at one point we moved to vertical, and it was crazy how much more we sold because people could see everything, and they didn't just see what there was a lot of. And when we made that transition, we also did it in-house for how we pulled orders, and it's been fantastic. So that's something that I think is really worth doing. But you do what works for you. So but I don't have any other specific suggestions for a one-man show.
Great. I want to direct folks' attention to the chat. If you haven't seen, Ken from Southern Exposure has put some really helpful information and corrected what I said. They'll do down to 200 packet runs with the seed packing machine, which I believe he said costs $75,000. So it's a big investment, but it can be a big time saver. And that switching from doing a bunch of lettuces, 200 of this, 300 of that, 400 of the next one, that's a sensible way to do it because you don't have to adjust the machine so much. And he notes that somebody from High Mowing, who works full-time operating that machine, is working to be able to do runs of 100 with their Seed Pack 2000, and that was some years ago. There was also a question about using the gunpowder spoons because they're plastic. Do seeds stick to them due to static electricity? And we have never found that a problem on those gunpowder spoons. I think the kind of plastic they use has very, very low static issues, probably because of their use with gunpowder. I imagine gunpowder and static don't mix.
One thing, I just saw that Sarah mentioned that you can get 70 scoops made by 3D printers. Sarah from Adaptive, from Real Seeds. I didn't know that. I'm gonna check that out after this. I'm really excited about that.
Yeah, that looks pretty awesome. 3D printed by the folks at Real Seeds in Wales, which, if anybody is in Europe, is a wonderful seed company. 70 different scoops seems about the right number. All right. Any other questions jumping out, or did I miss anything? Dusty, looks like you want to say something. Let me open up your mic here. Go for it.
Hey, hey everybody. I love this kind of stuff because we're getting to this place now where really, getting more efficient with things can like pay a lot of dividends. And so I mean, I feel like the printing on packets is kind of like not really like a revolutionary concept here, but I've been thinking about another idea, which is kind of almost like a halfway idea to the seed packing machine. If there was some type of machine that simply opened up the packet so you could like scoop into, because I feel like it takes time to like, you got your packet here, you open up the packet, then you put the seed in the packet, then you set the packet on the side to like put we use a sticker to close it on the back. I've been wondering, could there be like a cheaper type of machine out there? It simply runs the packet through and it opens it up so you can just sit there and just scoop them in as like it's going along. You can stop the machine and then you can like put the stickers on the back or something like that. That's just one idea I've had. I'm curious if anyone like, eventually figures out what that thing might be, but I just want to put that idea out there to the small seed packet people, because that could also be like a big time saver. That's all I got.
Thanks, Dusty. Yeah, if there's any machinists out there, anybody wants to make something like that, we're in for 5. All right. So let's see. Just trying to read some of these. Yeah, it is almost 6:30 here on the East Coast. So we can stay on a little bit while longer if folks want to keep asking questions, but we're getting close to the official end time of this session. Any other final thoughts, Reiley, Dan, that you would like to offer folks here? Anything else that's come up? And if there's any last minute questions, please throw them in.
I have a question for Dan. For anyone else, if you want to add in the chat, we struggle greatly with packets coming open at wholesale accounts like nurseries and grocery stores. Is anyone else experiencing that? Dan, yep.
We have had that as a problem. That's one thing, like we tried going with the, some like through Cambridge Pacific, the kind of the glue that you kind of pinch together. And I don't know if we had a bad lot, but we had so much stuff open one year. It was bad. And so we've moved to, it's like a pull tab to take leave the adhesive on, and then you can close it. It's a little bit more finicky, but once someone's quick at it, it's almost the same time, and that hasn't opened. We have had a different problem that sometimes the seeds will roll into the adhesive and somebody opens the pack and the seeds are on it. And so that's something that's been a little bit frustrating to do. But otherwise, that's worked so far for us.
There's also one more question from John in the chat. Any way for us micro seed businesses to bounce ideas off one another? And the simple answer to that is the small regional seed company listserv that Edmund Frost set up. If I think the best way to get added to that is at this point is probably to just send Edmund an email, and I'll put Edmund's email in the chat if nobody beats me to it. I believe it's edmund@twinoaks.org. I'm just going to check here. Yeah, edmund@twinoaks.org.
So somebody in the chat mentioned that they've been requesting extra glue on the packets from Cambridge Pacific, and it's mostly solved the issue. So I'm really thrilled about that, and maybe we'll try that out in the future. Earlier there was a question about Shopify, and so we use Shopify also. We do print our labels through Shopify. We're Canada-based, so it's different options, but we use Canada Post for that. One thing I wanted to say that something that excites me about Coda and reasons I'm going to look a lot into it this spring, before, like once the sales season's over, is it looks like there's ways to integrate it into Shopify. And what I dream about is if you can have your spreadsheets or your database that you can update there and easily have it linked back and forth between the two. Right now, we're able to do that. We use an app called Better Reports with Shopify, and we can export any kind of data in any kind of format, and we can run hourly reports or daily reports. And so we have a Google Sheet that updates with what's been sold and different information, and then we link that directly into our spreadsheet. So we're never exporting like specific information, like it just happens automatically. But I'd love to have the other way going too, that we could adjust inventory. And like, so right now what we do is we have spreadsheets that we do different things in, and then we export a CSV file and bring them in to Shopify. But I'm definitely going to be checking to see if Coda can bring those two together closer. And if it does work, it's probably going to be cheaper than the current app that we're using. So that would make my life fantastic.
Dan, Annie also asks if you could tell us a little bit more about your label gun.
Oh, so it's like a price, like for price labels, like you have at a grocery store. So we get it through Uline. It's the Monarch 1135 or 1136, something like that. So it's nothing fancy. And I think that you can get custom headers made for it, but I've never found that information easy, and so just haven't solved that. But it's feasible that you could have the germination rate on that too. But you want to just, if you're looking at label guns, they have, there's sometimes one row of information, sometimes two. I don't know if there's three, and then some of them are only numbers, some of them are alphanumeric, some of them also include symbols. So some of them have the word for, like sideways. So we use that for 2022, and then we have the lot number. So definitely look well before you purchase, because once you get it, you might be restricted to what you actually can put on it. So the spreadsheet that I shared earlier, I'm going to revise it after this call, and probably in about 20 minutes, it's going to be up to date and fixed. So if you want to look at it at that point, you're welcome to. I also so I give monthly workshops on different topics related to spreadsheets at some part. And I recently gave one about online stores, and it's more of a beginner. So I'm kind of thinking about what you think about when you're looking at online stores. And the answer, I think, if you're a seed company, is Shopify. That's the answer. But if you're a farmer, there might be other answers too. But one of the things I also looked at is how to import products, bulk import into Shopify, because that's one thing you don't want to be doing, going in and just creating one product at a time and managing one thing at a time. You really want to find ways to do a lot of it at once. So I'm going to share that link. I think this is the link to the last workshop I gave. I think it's going to be up for the next 2 weeks or so, because I'm giving my next workshop on February 17th. So that's when it's going to switch over around. So if you're curious, you can go there and you can see, you can watch another hour of me if that's what you like, and see me talk about spreadsheets and Shopify. But.
All right. And I was just going to do one brief pitch also. You showed those beautiful screens that you use for cleaning seed. If folks are still at a small scale and you're looking for all sorts of different screens, there are a lot of solutions out there for this. There are folks who are custom making these. You can also get these used old, they call them tester screens for seed cleaning machines from Commodity Traders International. They have stacks of these things, and they'll you can get all different sizes, all different types of screens. But for cleaning, that's a real useful tool. So I'm getting a note here that we want to let the recording manager have wrap things up. So I think we're going to close the official portion, but we might be able to stay in this room if there are folks who want to chat a little bit more. Yeah, thank you all so much.